Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Carly S.
And
and Eric B. I just like hearing the S. I was just going to say, it's so nice to hear,
second or third episode
yeah, second time.
Carly S.
It's the second time that she, it only took 2 years.
It took a while.
Only took 2 years,
Good
but
for you.
You're there.
Anyway, we're joined by our very special guest, good friend, Andy. How you doing, man?
Doing all right.
Doing all right.
Day's just starting out. But it's overall really good.
Good. Talking to the mic, though.
Oh, yeah. I'm not used to it.
Let me angle that a little bit towards you.
For some reason, I imagined, like,
There you go.
a computer mic in, like, a shed.
No!
And this is just, like, way different than expected.
No, we're official as shit, dude. We're official as fuck. Where are you from?
I'm from Ellicott City, Maryland, right down the street.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Centennial.
Oh, okay. So you're born and bred here, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Old Ellicott City type. So are you more Old Ellicott City or Columbia? Which way did you lean?
More closer to the Columbia side.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Fuck you, David.
What?
What?
What did you say?
Nothing.
I don't know. I completely missed it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Fuck Eric, don't listen to
You'll hear it in the recording.
I will. When were you first introduced to recovery?
So that's an interesting one. My brother has been clean for a good, 12 years or so.
Oh, shit.
Wait, no. It might be more than that. So he's been clean, I think, 20 years. I don't know how I underplayed it there.
In the same fellowship or different fellowship?
Same fellowship.
Oh, wow.
So he got clean real young, around 18. So I'm 10 years younger.
Wow.
So I got exposed around 8 or 9. I went to his anniversary when I was 8 or 9. I've been to a few
And you still did drugs.
Yeah, definitely. I remember being I'm never going to do that. I don't want to be like that. I'm going to learn from my brother's mistakes.
That seems pretty consistent, you know what I mean, with the kids that run around NA meetings.
Yeah.
They usually end up in NA.
It depends.
Yeah.
50-50.
50-50. I'd say it's a 50-50.
All right. So, how long have you been clean?
I've been clean 2 years and a couple months. So my clean date is May 6, 2022.
Fantastic. And with all that out of the way, turn it over to you to share your story with us. Take it away.
All right. So I grew up in a pretty wealthy area. My parents got divorced, so I always was comparing out to others, and that's something that I've continued to do throughout my life and even into my recovery.
Did that affect you when you were young?
So I was probably 6 or 7, maybe a little younger than that, maybe 5. And so I didn't have a lot of memories of my parents together, whereas my brother and sister, it was all they knew.
Yeah.
So at the time, it seemed like it wasn't that big of a deal to me, but I also got the brunt of actually having to split time with both, and live through them. My brother and sister were more or less adults at that point.
Yeah.
So I had to do the shared custody thing and go to mom's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, dad's on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And
Did you get 2 Christmases?
Yes.
Oh, that's dope. So jealous of that. Anyway.
But I'd go to friends' houses and they'd have their parents together, or they'd have the nicer game systems, the nicer basements and stuff that. And I just always felt like I was poor, even though I had everything that I ever needed, and most of the stuff I wanted. I just always felt like it wasn't good enough. And all my friends were really nice and whatnot, and I got to benefit from them having the stuff that I wanted too. But I always felt like when I went home, my life wasn't as nice. In reality, I came from a very loving family, but that's just how I felt at the time. And then I wasn't particularly good at sports or anything. And a common thing for my life is just if I'm not good at something naturally, I just don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's something I've tried to conquer over time. But for most of my childhood, teen and young adult life, if I was bad at some sport like basketball, so bad at it, I just don't play at all. And riding a bike, I didn't learn how to ride a bike until I was...
Now, are you bad at basketball because you're uncoordinated or because you're white?
A little bit of both. And if I don't try, I'll never be good at it.
That's true. Sorry, that was totally my fault. I bumped the table.
So people will ask me to play, and I'm just oh, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And so I never felt like I was good enough in those areas and whatnot. As I get a little older, I got like interested in girls and whatnot. Like I never was the guy who had the most attention on him, so I always just felt like I wasn't good enough. And meanwhile, like also showing like little signs of like other addictions and whatnot, like sneaking out the bedroom to play video games and stuff, crying when the Xbox got taken or it was a PlayStation, but same thing. Like it was the end of the world. And like playing video games for like half a day, unless like my parents were like, all right, you got to go outside and do something. As well as like, getting like super involved into a crush and like planning out my life like with her like when I'm like 10 years old. And it's like, bro, like why are you planning out your wedding when you're 10 years old? Like you've talked to this girl like 3 times in like health class or something.
I actually did that too. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
And it was an obsession. And I remember even having the directory for like...
Wait, did a girl ever break your heart?
Oh, yeah.
What was her name? First name. Say it.
This girl, Molly. I remember I asked her out in middle school, and she was just not with it.
Aww.
And it just hurt. I obsessed about her all year, and she was just like, nah, bro. We just sit next to each other in health class.
Oh, that's terrible. That's awful.
But like,
she never got her heart broken.
Who broke your heart?
So many. So many.
But yeah, just like unreciprocated energy was making me feel less than when Sally, like, I'm sure
Who broke mine?
there was people that...
I'll pick one.
There was a lot of good friends and people that did, like, care about me that I could have focused on that. But yeah, I had the directory for this one girl, and I called her house like every day and like would just breathe into the phone until her mom like called my mom and was like, yo, this is weird. Like there's caller ID, so it says like my last name, my home, basically everything.
You're just breathing like...
Oh, God. I can't do it. No, stop it.
It's like little
That's
kid
disgusting.
breath too, so they know what it is. Like it's just like high pitched breathing. Yeah, her mom was like, "Yeah, your son's got to stop." So then I said I never wanted to do drugs,
Wait,
but
can I digress real quick?
Yeah,
Did
definitely.
boys like were like boys like super into you?
No.
Oh, really?
Really?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think so.
Did you fantasize in the way that boys fantasize about, like, were you...
What the fuck?
No, I'm asking what?
Okay,
I'm asking a
where is this
question.
going? Okay.
Like, you were just describing, like, oh, I'm going to marry this person, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, totally.
I'm asking that same question. I wasn't getting, like,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well,
God,
I didn't know
where's
what you
your
said.
br-
Fantasize
Where is your head at?
in a terrible
Oh my
place, as
God.
always.
Did you have a little pretend fiance in middle school?
No,
She's
I
thinking
don't-
about it, though. I see her eye. It's like
I am
there's
thinking.
a twinkle. I
am
see.
thinking, but I don't think so because in middle school I was
Elementary school.
My
High
like
school. Which one? There's
my
one.
focus was like sports.
What's
That's
their
what
name?
I
Yeah.
planned out.
So who's it? What's the name?
I don't have a name. I did have a.
Jeffrey?
His name was JJ
I
Hardy.
did have a fake wedding to a boy
Aw.
named Nick when I was in pre-K.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a fake wedding when I was in, I think,
So,
in kindergarten.
But no,
Yeah.
I planned out my future around sports. That's what I did.
Okay.
So
That's
an
where
independent
my
woman.
mind was.
Okay, we've
Alright.
digressed too far.
Alright, independent woman.
Back to Andy.
Still independent.
So
I said I was never gonna do drugs.
There we go.
I'm
glad you kept our
I heard the stuff.
spot.
Heard the stuff about my brother, and like kind of figured like saw some of the harm that he had caused, and like also saw like some of the progress in his life. How like things were bad and now they were better. But I was like, hey, never want to like do drugs. But then the first time they were in the room with me, like first time people were using drugs around me, I just tried them because like curiosity, maybe trying to fit in or whatnot.
What drug?
It was like weed. Someone made a tinfoil like little pipe, so nasty. And like
yeah.
we went out and like at my friend's house, we went out in the snow and there was like snow prints the next day, and the dad was like, "What? Where were y'all going in the snow, bro? Like why were you
Yeah.
like why is there like footprints outside the back door, like to underneath the deck? Like,
Yes.
what are you doing underneath the deck?
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like I didn't feel what I.
So unslick.
I didn't really feel like what I thought it was gonna be, but I definitely felt like different, and I like laughed a little, and I was like, I'm gonna try this again sometime, because I didn't think I'd experienced it, and then over time I just kept going and going, and
Wait, did you get high the first time?
I don't think so.
See, I'm like the only person that got high.
You know,
as shit.
David, we've talked about this. It's because you smoked cigarettes, so you already knew how to inhale.
Okay.
I didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't know how to inhale. There was a learning curve, right? Did you
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes?
No, not before that.
No, you were a good kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck? God damn it. Okay. Anyway.
And then, I just started hanging out with people that did that. People that had started to do that like at a younger age, so they were like sponsoring me and starting to like smoke weed and drink and stuff. And like
Nice.
they had access through their older brothers. And
I've
whatnot.
never thought about that. We totally had drug sponsors.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit, I've never thought of that.
I was a drug sponsor.
No, you were just
I was
you were just the
definitely
guy peer
a
pressuring
drug
everybody like an
sponsor.
asshole.
I was a drug sponsor.
Come on, it's really fun.
Let me take you along.
Everybody's doing it.
Are you trying to go down the yellow brick road?
God, I hate you. Anyway, you're getting sponsored how to do drugs.
And yeah, I remember getting honest with my parents about me trying it early on, like, and they just instantly freaked out because of all the things that happened with my brother. So they put me into these like IOPs as like a teenager and whatnot. And at that point, like the trust, I was like, there's nothing to be honest about here. Like I was honest, and then now here I am like in trouble. I'm not able to like hang out with my friends because I got to be in these drug counseling classes. And like how the thing works is like if you put a room full of like teenage drug addicts in together and they don't
They're
want
just
to
going to exchange numbers.
yes.
Yep.
No matter how much you try, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
And I did like a couple of those.
Wait, what center did you go to?
Congruent in Columbia, but then also they put me in Mountain.
Alumni.
A lot of people. And they put me in Mountain Manor in like off Frederick Road in Baltimore.
The Catonsville one for kids.
You did not belong there.
They tried to make
Why not?
like
That
a
was my
scared
first-
straight.
That was my first one.
Yeah,
I
that's
ever
a
went
scared
to.
straight for a kid from Howard County.
Yeah. No, this was the one in Baltimore City.
I know exactly where it is. It's next
Yeah,
to
in the
Collins.
graveyard.
Yeah, Irvington. Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you ever get a tour of that place, it's really cool.
It was-
one of like my therapist, my counselor took me there. He gave me a tour of the whole like building. Yeah, it's like one of the last like I don't know something special about Catholics in Baltimore.
Anyway,
Ancient
you're
and like,
incongruent.
and like I remember, well, at the Mountain Manor one, there would be like it would be a bunch of people under 18, and there'd be an hour-long smoke break for every 3 hours. So mind you, like no one's legally allowed to smoke tobacco.
Yeah.
they're 16 and 15 years old
Yeah.
on court paper, but there'd be an hour-long smoke break. And it's just like on like basketball break, and it was kind of like a joke. And I just didn't want to be there, and I learned how to just like game the system a little.
Yeah.
Like most people would be like, all right, I'll just stop smoking or whatever, but I'd be like, oh, if I get drug tested on Monday or Tuesday, that means like because my metabolism's like Usain Bolt level at
Usain Bolt level.
at 15 years old, like I can like smoke on Friday night,
Yeah,
like just a little bit, and like it worked for a while until it didn't, and then I like failed a few, and then but like somehow still made it through all these programs like back to back, and meanwhile there's all sorts of signs of like me being an addict that I wasn't listening to at the time. I got grounded and like went into school and what like really was hearing about all the parties and whatnot. So I had this like friend whose parents owned like a liquor store or a convenience store. It was like a Chinese guy, and he like brought in like a rice equivalent of Everclear. Like it wasn't grain alcohol, it was like rice.
So sake.
It was like 70% though.
So sake moonshine.
Yes.
Okay.
And no English on the bottle. All straight Chinese. And I was just like, but other than 70%.
Sake's Japanese.
Yeah.
That's rude. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, it was nasty, and I drank it in school, and I blacked out, and I puked everywhere, and I woke up in the hospital with a catheter in. So just straight like, ow.
Did you know what it
Eric.
was? Did you know what it was? Wait, I've had this experience. Did you know what a catheter was before?
No.
Yeah. Isn't it awful?
Surprise dick tube.
awful.
Like,
That should be the title of the episode. Surprise dick tube.
but that wasn't enough. I didn't think I was addict. I just thought that like I messed up and like couldn't pace myself with that. I blamed that beverage when it was like it's me.
Yeah.
And because I had to get drug tests, I would smoke spice, and that led to a seizure and another hospitalization. And then eventually I discovered like selling drugs, and that was like the biggest obsession for like a good like 10 years. Is like finding the cheapest and like being able to make the most profit, running the profit numbers before I had the money in my hand. Everyone was blowing me up for like XYZ thing, and like I felt like the man. Like all that stuff of like not feeling good enough like went away when I had something that people wanted, and I felt like I was a little better than them. And then yeah, like I remember getting caught by both parents doing that, and I got kicked out right when I was 18. And I'm like couch surfing around, and it sucked. I moved into a place in like Arbutus or Lansdowne, right off Route 1. I like found a place that like I could rent a room for like $300-$400 at the time.
Jesus.
And I was the only friend that had their own place. Like we're 18, like we're still in, like we just finished out high school, so people would come over and party and stuff. Mm-hmm. The room that I rented, there was somebody that had gotten raided for selling drugs in it before. So I was like, lightning can't strike twice, like in the same place.
Yeah.
But it did. In fact, it made lightning more easy to strike because they already had a pattern of like trafficking out of that place.
Yeah, they already had like all the camera angles on that place. You were fucked.
And the neighbors already knew what to look for. So I ended up getting arrested there for doing exactly what the last guy was doing.
Yeah.
I'm in like Baltimore County Detention Center in Towson at like 18. The bail was like way higher than like I thought it would be. And
What was it?
$100,000 for some weed and some acid and like some
Acid.
Yeah.
Acid was what did it.
And when I was talking, it was like a holiday weekend, so I couldn't get the bail review until Monday. So I was in there for like over the weekend, which was like I was so scared. And then I'm talking to people about the case, and they're like, "Oh, dude, like they're gonna increase the bail. Like we've never heard of somebody." Like I'm talking to other like criminals in there. That
They're all idiots.
Yeah, they're like, "Dude, nah, like you're screwed. Like you need to get bailed out now." So I'm like calling, like, "Please bail me out." And my parents are like, "We'll just let you cook in there for a sec."
Yeah.
And then on Monday they were like talking to the judge for the bail review, and they were like, "We're gonna take him to treatment," and they dropped it basically down to unsecured, so I could get out that same day for like no money down.
Oh, nice.
And I went to Warwick Manor across the bridge, and I'm like 18 in there. At this point, I'd only really done like weed and psychedelics, and I'm like in there with people that are like, "I lost everything. Cocaine took my house and my boat and everything," and I was like, "Oh, I'm never gonna be that guy." Fast forward, like I'm like became that guy, but I just never had those things to lose in the first place. But I remember.
So you lost the boat you never had.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the name of the episode.
You lost the boat you never had.
But I remember talking to people in there and them being like, "Oh, you're not an addict." So then instantly I was just like, "All right, I need to get out of here." And I went to a kind of treatment center halfway house in Ellicott City called Howard House at the time.
Oh, shit.
And
What year were you in Howard House?
2013.
Holy fuck. Okay, you were around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, man, people, yeah, wow. So were you going to meetings around here in 2013?
A little bit. Enough to, like, satisfy the things for the house and to...
Because that's when...
That's like when our friends had just graduated from Howard House.
Yeah.
So, like, you were... Well, I think we were taking meetings,
Yeah.
like, into Howard House
Yeah.
at that
Jack
time.
and Brad
Yeah.
and all them were around Howard House all the time. So
Yeah.
was I, right? In
Yeah, no,
2013.
me too. I was at, I was up at the fucking...
Shepherd Pratt.
every fucking Saturday.
Yeah, it was right next to that old Shepherd Pratt. We'd go into meetings in there sometime. But I didn't really want it at all. I didn't think I was an addict. I knew I had to be clean to look good for the judge. I couldn't get in trouble again. I knew I had court coming up. There was a guy in there, Eric, that was like big bodybuilder guy. You probably know him from around
Eric
there.
S.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, I was like, "Please teach me how to work out because I'm going to go to jail."
Talk to Eric.
And he was like, "I'm going to go to jail." I was like, "I'm going to go to jail and I need to be a little less scrawny." So he taught me to work out, and I like started working at a hot dog stand down in Old Ellicott City. That like, it also was... They'd like drive me to like set up the hot dog stand at the dump. Like,
Oh my god, you were the dump dog guy?
I was dump dog guy.
Oh my god, that's awesome. Well, have you guys ever had a dump dog?
No.
You never. Well, no, it's a Howard County thing.
But
when you go to the dump in Howard County, there's a little hot dog stand outside, so you get
we had
dump dogs.
We had Home Depot hot
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's okay. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But he would like before he went to set me up, he'd like
Dump dog.
he'd like hop into his house over in Oella to like grab some stuff, and he'd come out smelling like weed. The guy that like owned the business.
Oh yeah.
And but then I would like be at the hot dog stand at the dump alone, like sometimes in the cold and whatnot. Like it was a very humbling job. And then he'd come,
Dude, I
and
probably
like
bought a hot dog from you.
he'd count the hot dogs and like the money and be like, "You're stealing." And I just straight up wasn't stealing, but he would just accuse me of stealing dump dog money. And I was like, "Bro, no." But then like he also had an ice cream shop in Old Ellicott, so that was my job while working at Howard House, and it was cool. So I got the papers signed and I went to court, and I remember I got off. I didn't have to serve any time. I got like supervised probation, and that was going to get transferred. No, I think I kept it in Howard County when I was going to go to school at College Park. I remember I had this option then, like, go to a sober living down in College Park or move into the dorms. And really crossroads, but I didn't consider the sober living for a second.
No.
Fuck no.
No.
I wanted the normal college experience, and within, like, a few weeks of starting, I had started to, like, drink and smoke weed again. And then, like, after getting, I think I got through the first semester without getting into like dealing and stuff again, and like I maybe like tried some like new drugs and started partying again. But like I remember getting a refund check for like some sort of like student loan type thing. Like they gave me like extra money to live off of.
Yeah, it's fucked, dude.
It's awesome.
Like, it's not good. It's actually really bad the way that they give, like, they'll live, like, because my dad used to
missed
rent
everything.
to college kids,
I'm going
right?
back to college.
And, like,
Fuck
you
this.
just give them a $6,000 check, and, like, that's supposed to be for rent. It's supposed to be for living.
Dude.
And they just blow it in, like, a fucking
dangerous.
second.
Dude.
Because I know, like, so many people didn't pay my dad because they would just blow their fucking grant money. It would be like, you know, it's like, oh, man, I just spent, I don't know what happened to it, all this beer and all this, you know.
Man, I fucking...
So I
Continue,
I was around all these people that like had come from out of state. Like I'm at University of Maryland. There's a lot of people from Massachusetts, Connecticut. With like,
Did you guys have a Jersey contingent?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one I'm
It's
forgetting.
always
too.
strong.
It's strong.
A lot of these, and they came from money. They were living in like the nice dorm, the nice like apartments, the luxury apartments, and like meanwhile, like I'm like getting this refund check, and I'm like buying weed and stuff, and I'm like, wait, this will be better this time. I can sell drugs better and not get in trouble.
What a terrible, like,
and
I get it, but
I got all my roommates at the time into it too, so it just became like a
you got your runners.
Yeah.
and like it just escalated. But we were also the party house too, so it was like like, and then I was starting to get into like music scene and going to festivals and all that too, and like there were parts of it that were like a decent time, but then like it all came crashing down. I stopped going to class as much. I like couldn't eat and sleep without like ingesting marijuana. I was like in a haze the whole time, and I was starting to get into like other drugs as well. I was often blacking out drinking, and then there was this guy that I had move in that because we needed a roommate, and his dad was a police officer, and we were partying together at the time. I was on probation once in a car with him, and we got pulled over. And I was like, this is the end. Like, like there's weed in the car. Like, weed was still really illegal. I was like, I'm going to jail.
But do you have cop kid in the car?
Cop kid in the car, and we just got to walk. Like,
Kid.
The driver got screwed, and they were just like, oh yeah, you two in the backseat, like, take a walk. And I was like, dang, I'm invincible. So I was like, if I live with
this down in PG County?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they don't give a fuck.
No, it's in Howard County, where his dad is a police officer.
I'm surprised he let you go if he was in Howard.
Wait, where was the arrest or the pullover?
Howard County.
Oh,
and his dad.
I'm surprised.
Oh, his dad was in Howard County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why
They saw the name and it was
yeah,
just like, get out of here, kid.
Yeah, I don't know why I got looped into the get out of here too.
You weren't in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
You got lucky.
Yeah. So I thought I was invincible. I had him move in, and then he was just like also like got kicked out of his parents for doing the same thing I was. We were all really sloppy with it, but he was the next level of sloppy. And the police, when we were having a party the day before spring break, came over looking for him. They were dressed down, and like we were having a party, and he was also making plays. So he came to like the door with like a bag of weed in his hand, and they just like entered the house because that was probable cause, I guess. Yep. They did a knock and talk, and just like ended up in our like living room, and like he instantly started like cooperating. I wasn't really asked many questions, and then 9 months they like took everything and left. I wasn't arrested that month, and then 9 months later on 9/11 I like got all the charges for everything in the apartment, which is like, yeah, I put myself in that situation. I felt like such a victim at the time. So basically any sort of like money that was put aside for college, any of the next refund checks all went to like this big lawyer bill.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting another probation, which is super lucky. Like it was, this was actually worse than the first time, and it's now a pattern. But, like, you think I would learn my lesson and just stop doing the things that would get me in trouble. But, like, at this point, I was like, oh, well, this is my career now. I remember I had all these aspirations of, like, being a lawyer or a doctor or something. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm like, now I might as well just, like, sell drugs forever. But I might as well finish up this college thing, too. So I was like, I don't want to stop halfway through.
It's very extreme.
Yeah. School never...
I was going to be a lawyer, but you know what? Now I'm going to be a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And, along the way, I started to like really hate myself a lot more because of that, and that made me use harder. And I did like a lot of regrettable things along the way. There was a girl that I dated during the time that I really dragged through the dirt in like every way possible, and like I would wake up not really remembering it and being told about the things I did, and then like that guilt and that shame just made me like use harder and harder. So eventually, I somehow got through the degree in like biochemistry, and I like was like, I want to work in the medical marijuana industry. Like this is the only thing I'm passionate about. Like let me
Wait, can I ask a question? You're a biochemist, right?
Yeah.
How much did
Okay, so yeah, I
your
knew there was
extracurricular activities I don't know, influenced your decision to go into biochem?
I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but then after like starting
after doing acid.
Yeah, I was like maybe I'd like always entertained like some sort of like production of some sort of illicit substance, but I'm glad I don't entertain that anymore.
Did you make any? Out of curiosity, because we had someone here and we called it college chemistry, like GHB or like LSA, like that sort of stuff.
The off-campus drug factory.
Off-campus drug factory where you make like GHB and LSA and like maybe you're like taking some Hawaiian rosewood and making an extract out of that, or like
maybe you'd stop just giving people
Everybody
just
the ingredients.
I'm asking him a question.
I read a lot about it. Like I said, like drugs were the only thing that got me excited. So like I would spend a lot of time on the internet reading about like trip reports, like extraction methods and whatnot, but I never like actually like pulled through with it.
So you're an Arrowhead kid.
Yes, big time. I remember reading all that and being so excited, like at a young age.
I told you, the people.
Only thing that got me excited was reading stuff about drugs. It was the only passion for the longest time. So I thought the only passion for my career could be like in the cannabis industry. I remember I went to an interview fresh out of college and I was like, I crushed it. I was like, yeah, this is like what I want to do. Like, let me be like a extraction technician. It was like making cannabis oil from raw plant. And they were like, oh yeah, like you're in, like just go get this form notarized and we're going to run your record and we're going to store your record in the cannabis employees database in case you ever like want another cannabis job. We won't have to run your record again. And I was like, oh wait, my record is dirty as fuck.
Yeah, it's fucked.
So I talked to the lawyer and he was like, yeah, don't do that if you ever want to work in cannabis. Like just wait, let's wait to get this expunged. And I thought that was my end. I thought that was like the best opportunity I'd ever get. And I remember feeling so broken and I like stopped applying for jobs and I was like, I'm not going to be able to get anything. And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to travel around the country and go to music festivals. I'm going to like sell drugs on the campgrounds of music festivals. And like I did that and somehow I didn't get caught because I was like really sketchy behavior and I didn't have another chance. And I like came back and I just kept doing that. And I like stayed working at like a restaurant in Columbia, and I'd never done that before. It's always something I wanted to do. Like in college, I always wanted to be a waiter on the side. I had like pizza shop and liquor store jobs, and I was like, if I could just be a waiter.
Where did you wait tables?
Columbia, P.F. Chang's.
Yes.
Oh my God! So
you have such a house like spine connection because that's where Jack worked.
But it was through different connections. It was another friend
Brad
that I had.
And Brad, like, dude, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I worked with them at the same time. This had to be like 2018.
No.
But I worked my ass off there, starting as a busser, and they wouldn't make me a server at first. And then I quit, and I came back, and they were like, "Yeah, well, you'll be a server." They wrote them on my amends list because I was like, I hurt the production and the efficiency of that whole restaurant by working there. I got multiple people fired from selling them like drugs that they then used on the spot. Like I remember selling somebody acid that was a cook that never did it before, and he ended up just like.
Wait,
like tripping balls.
He took it on the line?
Yeah.
Why would he do that?
And they're like...
That's the thing. That's the thing.
I had a few similar stories where they...
Don't ask.
They just like... They had a trip and then they were like, I don't want to work at P.F. Chang's anymore. They just had existential crisis. They're like, I'm done. They quit the next day.
Dude, you fucked the assembly line.
Yes, big time. And like, I just was doing all sorts of degenerate behavior around there. then COVID happened, and I like things got really bad. There wasn't much to do. I was still doing my own thing. I was living in Colombia, selling a little, partying a little, and then I started just like drinking really heavily, like blacking out almost every night. And then
What's
like
your drink of choice?
anything.
What was your first drink? Right? Is that our usual question? What's
Yeah.
What's your first drink?
Every time I did liquor, I blacked out. But like, I don't think I liked whiskey, but like, I would go crazy with it. I could chug it. So maybe that. Like,
It was a love-hate sort of relationship.
Jameson, maybe. I don't know. Like,
Okay.
I blacked out on anything. Like, I drank it to the
Yeah.
excess. It's hard for me to pick favorites there. White Claw.
Oh God.
Yeah, and stuff like that.
That's a solid choice.
But
No, it isn't.
I remember I ended up, like, long story short, being in a room where there was like some of the drugs I said I would never do. Like there was crack and heroin, and like the first time I was in the room, I tried it, and I was blacked out on Xanax at the time too. So I'm lucky I even survived that trifecta of things, having never done two of them before. And then I woke up the next day, and that like kind of like I'll never do it like barrier was gone, and I was like, I'm gonna try this again.
Yeah,
and
doing all three of those at the same time is fucking nuts.
Yeah. And over time, I like just like from first trying that, I just like went like down the rabbit hole of like over 2 years. I went from like do it every once in a while, like this is like kind of like casual, to like I'm spending every dollar I have on it. I'm going out 20 times in one night to go get more. And like I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, I'm barely going to work, and like I'm losing like all my.
She got real into the crack.
Yes, big time. And like
That's what it sounded like right there.
And I just like at first I was like getting big ripped off. There was like these people that would like deliver to me for like way more than it was worth, and then eventually someone was like, oh yeah, you can just go to these places and get it off the street corner, and they're open 24/7 and you don't have to wait. And one of them, I was like living off of Wilkins Avenue at the time, so it was like one of the places was not very far from me, and I could just go 10 times in a night. And like that's when things like the accessibility really like got me. And it got really bad to the point that I was like hearing voices in my head. I was constantly paranoid.
Oh yeah.
I was like being delinquent on like bills like car insurance. I remember like
God, I would have hated you on cocaine.
and
You'd have hated me too.
Wow.
I was awful.
I wouldn't
That was
talk.
fun.
You wouldn't. Well,
You were
you were
fine?
so
So
gacked
fun.
out of your mind,
so fun.
man. Like, I mean, crack
Okay,
is
we'll
such
give
a
it a shot.
wild drug. Like,
How is crack different than coke? I never did crack. So I don't know.
it makes you feel like your heart is going to explode, but like
I mean, that's very similar.
No, it's not similar. It's really not. You get higher, right? Would you say? It's
Yeah,
like-
for
you never
a
smoked
short
crack,
period
did
of
you?
time.
but it feels dirtier.
You smoked
yeah,
crack?
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I felt like just guilt because I felt like I was the only person I know doing
The only
it.
person
Yeah.
that didn't smoke crack in here?
You're the only person. Yeah.
Oh.
It wasn't social.
Shit.
I'd be around people, but it
No.
was like
Crack is the least social drug
Change
possible because, like, everyone just wants to smoke their own crack.
yeah.
And then they're like, don't smoke my crack.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's my res. That's
Yeah.
my res,
Yeah.
fucker. Like,
Exactly.
it's a very solo
Anyway.
thing.
But I got sponsors then too because I didn't know what I was doing. And
Of course.
I like.
Well, you got to learn how to recook.
Yeah, I got.
Shut up, Eric.
I met people that showed me where to go. I met people that showed me how to do it, and I like got way into it. And it, like I felt like I was the oddball out. Like I felt people. I'd be like in areas, and they'll be like, "Why are you here?" Like people that don't know me, they're like,
Yeah.
"You look like this isn't for you." And I like got delinquent on like my insurance bill, like I was saying, and I ended up like being blacked out on White Claw and like driving around, I mean,
Drinking a White Claw and smoking crack is one of the most goofy juxtapositions I've ever fucking heard in my life.
it gets worse. I'm driving around looking for some in like some area of Baltimore, and I think I'm not wearing my glasses when I need glasses. I don't have insurance. I just T-bone a car, and I'm like, fuck, like this is it. I might as well dip, and I dip out, and I take a full few turns and like park up somewhere, And like I can't find my phone in the car when I park out, so I'm like, all right, I just have to like finesse my way back to Charles Village from like wherever I was, almost downtown kind of. It was a long walk, and I somehow like figured out the turns and where I was. I got back home, and then later went back for the car and the phone and whatnot. But the license plate had like fallen off at the scene of the crime, so they went to the address.
Oh my God.
They went to the address on my license, and it was like an old friend where I used to live at, and they woke him up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and he had like he had trauma from his own arrest and whatnot. So having the police there at 6 in the morning, like asking him questions about me, like he hated it. And like, yeah, I totaled that car, like, but somehow, like, it was never proved that I was the guy that executed that hit and run. They knew it was my car that did it. And like, I wrote that into kind of like an amend to, or a step 8 about like, yeah, like, I was just like, that guy, whoever I hit their car, amongst other just like degenerate behavior in Baltimore City. And I don't quite know how I'm going to get to that one, but I guess I'll talk to my sponsor about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, like things had gotten really bad at that point, but there was always somebody to bail me out. There was a friend to give me like a clunker, like beater, like Highlander that I drove for a few months after that. And I was
Great car.
So where was the bottom?
I had moved to a place called Highlandtown in Baltimore after like couch surfing around. There was a period where I was like in a nice place in Fells Point and like with some like girl that like owned the house that I didn't really know, and I like thought I was hearing her like talk about me because I was psychosis, and I just like told her everything. And so I was like, yeah, please, like, throw away everything. Like, I gave her everything. I, like, gave her, like, my paraphernalia and everything.
Take my crack.
Yeah, and she was like, what the fuck? And then the next day I just woke up and was like, why'd I do that? And then went on my way. And then she, like, wasn't there for a few days and then, like, came with, like, she, like, threw a little intervention. She, like, found my parents and all that. And she was like, oh yeah, and, like, you can't live here. Like
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know, but, like, you gotta go. And then I couch surfed for a bit and I ended up, like, living in Pasadena and, like, getting clean for, like, a few weeks at a time. And I remember, like living in a friend's basement, he wasn't charging me rent, and I like put together through multiple streams of income. I was working my main job in a lab, I was working P.F. Chang's on the side, I was selling, and I was doing someone's college for money. 4 incomes.
Fuck yes, I love that last one.
Still never enough. But from not using for a few weeks, I put together a few grand, and I moved into a place in Highlandtown because I was like, I'm going to defeat Baltimore City this time. I can handle the temptation. And like over 2 or 3 weeks, I had burned whatever checks I had gotten in at that time and all that savings that I'd put together. And like
On crack?
Yes, all. $10 at a time. Every time was my last time.
So
I was
wait,
like,
why were you doing, like, I don't ever understand the thought process of this. You're going 4 to 8 times in an evening. Why not just go once?
every time was my last time. I can't make sense of it. And when
Every time was my last time.
time.
That's the real fucking
yeah,
title.
I was like, I'm gonna go to sleep after. I'm gonna chill out after this last time.
I'm gonna smoke this rock and go to sleep.
Then they would run out, and I'd be like panic, and I'd be like, oh well, what is one more? What is one more? And then or like if I hadn't used in that day, I was like, oh, I'm only gonna go use once, and then it's only gonna be nice the first time, and then I'll go to sleep after, or I'll just not go get more. And that never happened. When in the history of drugs, in particular cocaine, has there ever been just
In particular,
one?
crack.
Yeah.
Crack cocaine.
Yeah.
So May 6, 22.
Okay, yeah, let me move this forward. I like brought, my sister already knew because I had told her about the insurance thing and she paid for my insurance once. So I told my sister about everything that was going on, and she told my parents. They threw an intervention, which didn't really matter. I wasn't really ready to stop, but I said I would maybe go to treatment. And I didn't, they were like, all right, call these places. I didn't call. My sister came with the number already dialed. And I just talked to the person. They were asking a lot of info, and I was like, yeah, are you trying to steal my identity? Because you can have it. It was like the director at the rehab, and he was like, oh, you're a funny guy. So I scheduled to get picked up, and I felt a sense of relief. I was like, all right, I'm at least going to get good for a little while. Like, I didn't think I was going to, like, stop all the stuff, but I was going to stop doing the stuff that was destroying me. I, like, overdrafted my bank account. It was raining a little bit. Like, it's funny, anytime I go speak somewhere, it's raining that day, and it reminds me of the last day where it's like, I overdrafted my bank account by doing some weird stuff involving cryptocurrency where I stole from Future Andy and then sold it into a different account so that I could just go and buy, like...
Excuse me?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
You stole from Future Andy?
Yeah, I, like, bought...
Whoa, what is... That is.
It's one of these cords.
It's one of the chords, yeah.
Okay, keep going.
I don't need to get into the details too much, but I overdrafted my bank account and did some crazy stuff so I could keep going out. I was like, I need to get it in while I can. And it was raining, and I still didn't know that I was going to keep going out. So I kept doing it one time after another time, one more at a time. Every time was my last time.
Yeah.
I'm going out in the rain, the pouring rain, like no jacket, no umbrella, maybe like no shoes. Like I was like looking crazy out in the rain. There was still people selling.
Yeah.
And I remember like telling one of the guys that I was about to go to treatment, like one of the dealers, and he was like, yeah, like there's some people that like can do this every once in a while and like still live a functional life. That's not you, bro.
No.
He was like, if I was you, I would stop doing this, whatever it takes. And he was just like, yeah, like you need to just stop. Like he straight up told me it wasn't for me. And that's like from a dealer that I'm putting money in his pocket, and he's like, yeah, you're not normal about this. So I
Good shit. Sorry, everybody, for listening to that. There was a bit fuzz.
I remember my parents picking me up, my mom and sister picking me up, and it was like I was coming back from like a walk to grab more at the time because my tires were slashed from me like shopping around with different dealers. Like dealers got jealous and slashed my tires. I don't know. I wasn't loyal, and so
Not
like
cool.
yeah. So I like couldn't drive anymore. So I was like walking around,
Jesus.
yeah, I'm coming back from getting whatever, and then end up getting in the car with my mom and my sister, and it's raining, and I have $10 left, and I'm like really trying to convince my mom to stop at the corner for me to get one more, and she's like crying. It's got to have been pretty traumatic for her.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
She took you to buy drugs?
No. She was like, no.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I had my hand on the door to the car being like, all right, I'm just going to jump out, like, because I got to go get one more. And then something in my mind was like, first off, it's not even going to work. You've been doing this like all day, every day for months at this point. Something just told me to stay in that car. So I did, and I like passed out on the way to rehab because I probably hadn't slept in a while. And I just woke up at this place called The Valley in Rockville, and I like remember like not being very happy in there at the beginning. I had like slept a lot. I was like low on food, I was low on sleep, so I caught up on that a bit. But then after a while I'd like wake up, and like the people that were working there were all like happy and whatnot. I'd ask this one guy that worked there, Roy, like how he was feeling, and every day he'd say another day in paradise and I didn't have to die to get here. And there was this other lady that worked there, I forget her name, but she was like
I like that.
I'm blessed and highly favored, or something like that. And they said the same
Not as
thing.
nice.
Same thing every day, and I was like, yeah, y'all are so cheesy, shut up. But then, like, now it's something that I would say, and it's something that I would feel. But, like, I was in the treatment center, like, kind of not hearing a lot of it. But as the haze started to clear, I was... At first, when I went in there, I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to go back out, and I'm not going to, like, use the harder drugs, but I'm still going to smoke a little weed. I probably can't drink, because anytime I drink, I end up wanting to do drugs. But I can still smoke weed. I can still sell weed and whatnot, as if that ever got me anywhere in life. But one day I woke up, and it was, like, the first type of, like, epiphany, spiritual awakening type deal, is I was like, hey, the path that I'm currently on, like, I'm losing my mind, body, and soul. Like, I'm on a death mission here, and if I keep doing what I'm trying to do, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm gonna, like, end up dead here. Like, there's a very serious possibility that I'll die, but even if I don't, I'm gonna suffer. Like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not fun, and I don't really know how to live. So maybe these suggestions that they're giving me, or these people that work here, know a little bit more about life than I do. So maybe I should listen a bit. Because I remember looking at the steps on the wall and being like, oh, that mentions God a bunch of times, so that's not going to work for me. Or it's like, I had known about NA through my brother for a long time, and I thought it was kind of culty. I thought it was kind of cheesy and whatnot. I thought I could do this alone without it, even though, like, historically speaking, like, any sort of, like, trying to manage my drugs never worked. Because I would, like, overdo it for a period of time and then kind of, like, scale it back a bit and be like... Or try to, and be like, oh, I'm not going to use this, or I'm only going to use on these days, or like, and any rules I set for myself, I always broke them, and that would lead to more guilt and more shame, which made me use harder. So I started to like have a little clarity and look at like kind of like the past and like be like, oh wait, there's some patterns here. I'm not going to be able to do this alone. And I just remember calling my dad in there, and he had like cleaned up my car in my apartment that I'd lived in Baltimore. And like I remember I was really upset that he threw out like some weed and some mushrooms. Meanwhile, like my dad is like a straight edge guy. Like he didn't want to handle these things. Like he wasn't excited to do this. Like I remember like having like being like, no, like I was gonna sell that when I got out. Like and I like got really upset about it. And I'm so glad he threw that out. And I remember starting to feel a little better, starting to like talk to people in there. I was really excited to go back to work and whatnot because I thought they needed me or missed me or something. They just wanted me to get right. They were kind of just, I was
the guy who's destroying P.F. Chang's.
Well, this was also like my job that I had at the time at like a caulk and sealant company.
Okay.
And I was like not really showing up to work and whatnot. And like somehow I didn't get fired. Somehow I still was on payroll and still had the insurance. I was actually on family medical leave of absence and short-term disability when I was in treatment.
Oh, shit.
So they were paying me to be in treatment. I was like, must be nice. It was nice.
Yeah, man.
And then
EPA programs, right? Employee, or what are they called? Employee assistance programs, EAP?
Yeah.
it was cool. But I really wanted to get back there. I really wanted to like, I don't know, I wanted to leave the rehab, but I was also a little bit scared because like it was dangerous out there. But they gave me some suggestions to move into a halfway house or some sort of recovery house, and I was like, I really don't want to share a room. That was the deal breaker. So like, yeah, I got kicked out when I was 18, and I've like lived in a bunch of places since then. I usually don't live somewhere for more than a year, but like there's only been a few times I shared a room and it sucked. So I really didn't want to share a room, and a lot of the places they were looking at were like pay $800-900 and share a room, and that was like a deal breaker for me. And then it was crazy how the timing worked out. Like there was one bed in the rehab like when I signed up to go there. So I got into the rehab, and then while I was there was this place where like Jack, my brother, a few other people I know all stayed at this place called Donley House for a period of time. And like there was one bed there too. So everything was just kind of like lining up for me. And I got into a bedroom there, and like it was the smallest bedroom in the house. You have to work your way up, but it was my own room. It's exactly what I needed. It's exactly what I wanted, even though it was small. And I remember going out to lunch with my dad after moving in there, and I was really upset about how small the room was. And my dad's just saying like recovery stuff to me, like which I just heard all during rehab. And he was just like, yeah, just one day at a time. Like stuff
I
like
really
that.
hate it when people outside are fucking, no, just one day at a time. Like, fuck you, what do you know? Shut up.
And I snapped on my dad about it. Because, I was tired of hearing it, and then, like, he wasn't even in the thing or whatever. I was just mad in general at the time. And I stayed, and the first thing I did is, like, went to a meeting, was what they told me to do. I went to a meeting, and at first it was an AA meeting. So I don't think I really shared there. I introduced myself. But once I, like, had access to my car again after a few days, I went to a meeting at the Serenity Center on Sunday called Starting Over, and it was a really small meeting. It's now gotten huge since then, but I was saying, I raised my hand at the end and was like, my name's Andy, I'm an addict, I'm going back to work in Baltimore City because that's where I used to use around there. I'm scared. Like, I know all the closest like areas to get drugs and where I work. I don't want to use anymore. I'm scared. And everyone gave me their number and a little book, and I was like, I have a cell phone. We don't have to do that like manually.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
But like,
love it.
I felt loved. And I ended up making that my home group. And I did exactly what they told me to do, is like ask for a little help. And I kept going to that group, and I went to work and I didn't use. And I don't think I called any of them, but I started to develop relationships with some of these people that I saw weekly. And I started going to other meetings too, and I'm a pretty social guy, but I felt so weird at first. I felt like so awkward. Even though it's like we all have something in common, like I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
But I'd go to the same meeting and like have like a couple word conversation with somebody outside the meeting every week, and then that just turned into like I'd see that person somewhere else, and I asked for numbers, didn't call anybody, but my phone started getting everybody's number, and like I started to like just like meet more and more people and become a little more and more comfortable. So I remember telling y'all that I got clean for a bit, like out of necessity for the judge in 2013. to look good for court. I met some people around then that were still clean when I got clean in 2022. And like, as if my brother wasn't enough proof that this worked, that was the actual proof that made me like really believe in this thing.
Who? Name drop.
Jack Martin.
Yeah.
There's this guy, Matt M.
Matt M.
Maddie?
No, Matt. You know Matt.
Yeah. Matt.
Nick
Yeah.
P.
Who's your brother?
Jonathan W. He mostly goes to Laurel.
Oh! Yeah, I know your brother.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay, I don't go to Laurel.
I just talked to him before when I was driving over here. It's his birthday, and he had surgery today.
Shit, yeah, I know your brother. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was saying I was going over here.
I never knew it. Okay.
People say we talk similar. I don't hear it. But I also don't really hear my own voice except for right now. But I saw these people that were still clean. Their life had progressed. Because I had met them, they were living at like Donley or like Howard House type deal. And now they had like houses, cars. So I'm like even to this day, and I'm working on it, I'm a very materialistic guy. Like I'm very money oriented. So seeing that kind of like materialistic proof is what at first attracted me. But then I noticed things about them too, that they just seemed like more at peace. They seemed like more happy overall. And like they were really like healthy. They had this like aura to them that was like attractive. And I remember I went to a meeting at Serenity Center, and Martin was sharing it. And I hadn't seen him before that. I think I had met him in 2013, and we had like gone to an Ocean City convention together. And like he remembers some times of me being goofy, like on the boardwalk, like doing bird calls. I said I was trying to attract a mate or something.
Yeah. It is the male bird. That we talked about this the other day. It is the male birds.
Anyway,
he remembered that, and he had probably hit me up on Facebook once or twice, like over the next 10 years. And I don't think we had really. I was using like at first it was like all fun and games using, kinda ish, not really, but then it got really into like problematic and like just like self-defeating using. But I already talked about it. But I saw him, he was speaking at a meeting, and like halfway through the meeting he was like, oh wait, Andy's here. No one really knew me at that time. I was like coming around for like a week or two, and he just like stopped the meeting and was like, Andy's here. And like I was like kind of embarrassing but kind of cool. And I talked to him after, and he was like, yeah, like we're having this 4th of July party come through. So I remember I got out of treatment in June. I somehow got invited to this 4th of July party at where I live now in Tradition House. And I remember I was really feeling awkward there too. I didn't have a sponsor, and I was like talking to some people about that there. And I was like, I think I'm going to ask Martin to be my sponsor. And it's like his wife was there too, and she was like, I think that's a good idea. I didn't know it was his wife. She was also like, I'll be your sponsor, like until you find one. Yeah. I was like, I don't think that's going to work. I'm going to do this the right way. It was a nice gesture though. And anyway. It was a really good time towards the end, even though it was awkward at first, and I made some conversations that were really slight. There was this sparkler thing. You light a sparkler if anyone's died that you know. Yeah. And like there was a few people that had been to my high school and college that we like spent time together that are now gone. And since then, there's been even more. I've been.
Dude, I have to remove myself. Here now. I have to remove myself from that because like I just cry.
Yeah.
I just fucking cry, dude. Don't say anything, Eric. Shut up.
And yeah.
It's just another day for Dave.
That's a viable cry. God damn it. God damn both of you.
I remember lighting a sparkler for this guy, Steve, that I partied with in college. And he was a nice guy. And then I just remember feeling like really emotional about that. And then there was this crazy fireworks show, like hours long.
It's dope.
Yeah. Like, and I'm closest to fireworks I've ever been. Like one actually went off too low in the sky, and it like a spark flew by my head, and I was like, dang, like I went from the sparkler like feeling all emotional to like almost dying. And I was like, nope, there's nothing like almost dying to make you feel alive. I remember like I talked to Martin after that. I had a really good time, and I was like, hey, will you be my sponsor or lead me to someone that will? And he gave me a good suggestion. He was like, I don't think I have the time for it, but I've got the perfect match for you. And it was this guy Joey that I'd like didn't have his number, didn't know who he really was. Martin showed me a picture, and I'd seen him around. And I was just like, all right, what do I have to lose here? Like, I know I have to do this. It was on my mental to-do list. So I was like, I got to do the things that they're telling me to do. I have the home group. Like, I'm going to meetings. I'm like doing the 90 and 90. Like, I'm trying to be of service, all that. I need the sponsor and the steps. So I talked to this guy for a bit on the phone, and it was so awkward to call someone that I hadn't met before. And after a while, I was like, yeah, will you be my sponsor? And he was like, yeah, I'd be glad to. And I remember just starting to get to work with him. And I just continued to go to meetings every day. Like, I lived in Columbia at the time before I moved up to Catonsville. So I was going to meetings in Laurel. I was going to meetings in Columbia and Catonsville. And I do that to this day. Like, I go really far and wide with my recovery, even though that's a few towns over, but like,
no, dude, Laurel is like it's like 500 miles away in my brain. Like, I'm not gonna
my home group's in Laurel.
Yeah, but you also live in a lighthouse.
I'm just saying.
The meeting that I ended up joining 2 other home groups. Like, I had the one on Sunday, and I joined one on Tuesday because it needed support too.
The one in Laurel? I just did that one recently.
Yeah. I like it. It's good energy, and like there was like 2 home group members, so I was like, I'm gonna hop in here and then the midnight meeting needed support too, so I was doing that at first. I was doing that for a while as well.
Midnight alumni, okay.
And I remember having a few months clean, and I had Joey as a sponsor at the time too. And there was the Baltimore convention, which I wasn't going to. I started working at P.F. Chang's on the weekend again.
Fucking right.
Because I want a little extra money. I remember when I moved into Donnelly House, they were like, "Don't do it. Like, it's a restaurant. It's not going to work." And then I was like, yeah, I need a little extra money. Like, I'm going to do this, but, like, we'll keep an eye on it. I told the owners in the house there, and they're like, yeah, go for it. We just didn't want you to rush into it.
Did you become a waiter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fucking right.
I've been a waiter for years at that point. But, yes, dreams do come true.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a waiter.
I'm just saying, if you remember earlier back, you know.
So, anyway, let's get to today.
I ended up, like, getting up service to the point that I wasn't a home group member there, but he told me that he was going to be at the convention and he needed somebody to go set it up. And I said yes, and I like trusted myself. They gave me the door code to the training center, and I got there and I set up the meeting, and like no one really came. It was actually 2 people came, and we just like talked, and it was awesome. It was a great meeting. But I remember like feeling good. Like I said I was going to be there, and I ended up being there. And I got there like after working all day, and like I didn't make any excuses, and like I joined that home group too, and I like started to get involved in service in different ways. I picked people up. There were people that I'd pick up all the time, and we just go to meetings together. And a lot of them have gone back out, but I'm glad I could like help show them some people and show them the solution. And like friends started coming to me that like were trying to get clean, and like I led them the resources and whatnot. And yeah, like a lot of them went back out too. But it's okay. Like I just kept doing my thing, and I started feeling better about myself. I started getting more invested into different hobbies because I didn't know what I liked. Only thing that used to get me excited was drugs. So I got really into cooking because it saved me money too, and I liked money. So I got really into like meal prepping and whatnot. I got really into like I bought a harp.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. The song I was playing on the piano over there, something I'm learning on the harp. So I was translating harp to piano, which was confusing me for a second. But it's really not that hard. But I remember buying the harp because I met someone at an NA meeting that was talking about music. He was drumming on his dashboard. He was like, "You want to play music?" I was like, "Do you play music?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to buy a harp." And he was like, his eyes widened. It was an older gentleman named Lee, and he was like, "I know of a harp." And he was like, "You go to Atomic Music in Beltsville, and you tell them you know Lee. You tell them you know Lee. It's usually $400, but since you know me, they'll do $350." I go there, and I'm like, see the harp. I'm buying it. I got a pocket full of Chang's money, like all cash. I'm like, gonna buy this harp with my tip money. It's like beautiful, and then I'm like, the price tag just says $350. Like it's just the price that he said, the discounted price. But anyway, I'm like, let me try this. Maybe they'll do it for $3. And then I was like, yeah, like I know Lee, and they were like, we don't know who the fuck that is, but like it's already $350. Like it was never $400. But then I bought it, and it was awesome. And I've been playing that a little bit since. Sweet. Recently, I've like been getting into like making like resin art and whatnot. I'm trying to like make like coasters for friends and family. And like I want to make orbs, like cool orbs. Like here's an orb, bro. Like I got really into like enjoying music again, like as like a concert goer without being clean, and that's been kind of like a weird one because like it's a high risk environment. A lot of people would say like, don't do that. But I got into that early, and
you got to break that seal eventually.
Yeah. And now if I'm having a good day, at first, like if I'm having a good day and I went to like good amount of meetings, if I'm like connected in my recovery, it doesn't bother me as much. Sometimes I get into like people watching and like judging like people that I used to party with and whatnot. But when I actually can enter the moment of like focus and like kind of like a zen state of dancing, like it's all worth it. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes I go and I'm like, that wasn't as fun as I thought it should be. But sometimes it's more fun than I expected. And it's always worth it then. So I just like got into hobbies that like filled me up. And like along the way, like I like added other things to my plate too. Like I like was doing that kid's homework for money, and someone at my old job was like, why don't you just do your homework for school?
Well, but can you still do the homework on the side for money?
My plate really filled up to the point that I
bummer.
stopped talking to that guy. And it might, some people were trying to tell me that was unspiritual, but other people were like, yo, make it
It's
back.
already unspiritual. You're doing his homework and he's lying about it.
Yeah.
So you're fine.
Yeah.
But I applied for this program at Johns Hopkins for a master's degree, and I remember I was really scared that I was going to get rejected because my grades at the end of college weren't very good. And yeah, I applied, and I remember like I was coming somewhere, and I was picking up dropping off a Christmas tree to Jack, because I know a Christmas tree grower that had an extra Christmas tree that I was dropping off to Jack because he wanted it. No one else I knew wanted this free Christmas tree. And I remember I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I just applied for the school. Like, I don't think I'm going to get it. And he's like, you're going to get it. And I remember getting that, and like the most dopamine rush like I'd had in a while from just getting that acceptance letter. It's not even a particularly hard one to get into, but it was nice name, nice program, and like I thought like I'd like burned all my bridges for academia, and it wasn't that case. They were like, yes, you can come pay us large amounts of money to get a piece of paper. But I started doing that. I was working regular job in Chang's, and I got my record expunged. So I started applying for other jobs too, and that was a really demoralizing process. But I talked to people in recovery about it, and my sponsor was like, yeah, just keep knocking on the door, someone will answer.
Yeah.
What a great way to put it. The most demoralizing process.
Because like I didn't really have like nice science engineering type experience. I was a technician at the time, so I felt like I couldn't break that barrier. I was like, I was writing my fourth step at the time, which was I was so mad at everybody, especially myself. So I was like, this record threw me back. I didn't get internships in college. This is my first time caring about myself. And I just kept writing about it. I went over the fourth step. I kept applying. I was really mad. I thought I wanted to use. I wanted to yell at my boss that wouldn't give me a promotion. I wanted to just give up. And it was one of the first times in recovery that I really wanted to use. Like, I had some cravings early on, but like for most of the time I haven't had to deal with that. But I really wanted to use then, and I like told him myself, and I like talked about it in the meetings, and I got through that. And I finished up my fourth step, and I talked about some things that I thought I would never talk to, and like I didn't get called a monster or anything. And like pretty much right after that fourth step, I had 3 job offers on the table that were all like significantly more than the one I had. So I went from like being really content and happy to have a job to getting my record expunged and being like, I deserve more, and like going on a whole spiral about like how it's not fair and whatnot. And like through that spiral, like I wrote on my fourth step and whatnot, and like I just talked about it, and like I don't know. I'd steady try to put in work when I'm feeling good and when I'm feeling bad too. There's never going to be like a perfect time to like do step work or anything.
Yeah.
If I'm going to wait for a star aligning moment, I'm going to miss it.
Yeah.
So you have to make your own star aligning moment. So the moment for improvement is like always. So like through good and through bad, I like tried to be consistent with it, and I've like experienced.
That's a damn moment for improvement as always.
Yeah.
He already has his title.
All right. All right. Well, we got some questions for you.
Wait. Let me tie it all together.
Okay.
Do all the things that
know.
I piled on my plate. I mentioned a few of them. So I went back to school. I like started a relationship in recovery. What I never did was like put anything behind my recovery. So they tell you to not do a lot of these things that I ended up doing. They tell you probably shouldn't go to concerts, probably shouldn't get in a relationship, probably like shouldn't go back to school too early. I did all those things. And I've seen people go out over all those things, but like what I didn't do is like put anything above my recovery. It's like you can have it. I could have it all. I just had to have the right priorities. And like I say yes to commitments and whatnot. I like am of service in any way possible, and I try to be consistent with my step work and my meeting attendance and my networking and whatnot. Is there room for improvement? Always, but like I am able to juggle more than I ever have because like I'm in recovery.
Yeah.
So if I try to put anything above my recovery, like I'm not going to be able to juggle all the things I do. And when I am more involved in my recovery, I'm able to balance everything better.
Yeah.
I still could benefit from like having more time management and whatnot. But when I have my priorities right and recovery is at the top, like everything else seems more manageable. Because I'm not worried about things that are outside of my control. I'm not like stewing in some stuff that's just like not going to be productive. I'm able to work towards a solution.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I put a lot on my plate, and sometimes it's been stressful. But like what I did right was not use, and what I continue to do right is like just like put my recovery first. So like I try to spread that message to other people too. It's like, yeah, there's some things that are like not suggested of you, but like as long as you keep your priorities straight, like there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope on this side of the street.
Yeah.
But if I try to like, I don't know, think I can figure this out myself, I'm gonna get what I always historically have gotten, which is like I'm not gonna be able to follow my rules anymore, and I'm just gonna end up like getting to that day in the rain, going out and like trying to convince my mom to stop at the corner. And like at the end of the day, I really wanted to die at that point.
Yeah.
And now I'm so glad I'm alive. I talk to people that are like getting clean now, and it's like awesome giving people rides still. It's awesome to like talk about this and remember where I came from, because like over 2 years, like if you told me multiple years ago I'd be where I'm at now, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
In so many different ways. There's a lot of things now like,
Let's get to questions.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm shutting you down. You're
Fire.
done.
That's a good end.
Okay. What do you got, Carly?
So you were introduced to recovery a long, long time ago. So your brother's active in recovery. Was there any influence that he had while you were in active addiction that made you think like maybe I should give it a try, or like was he around at all?
He was pretty good at not like trying to push things on me. He like gave me my own kind of process and whatnot, because I wasn't receptive to it either. Anytime he tried to call me out, I got really defensive or kind of like toxic and nasty towards him. And like that's something that I've like wrote down on 8th Step. I remember being really, really stoned at Thanksgiving, and like he called me out about it, and I was like, said something along the lines of, sorry, you can't handle this, or like you couldn't handle this, but I can. And it's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. But towards the end, like when I told him like how, like when my family really knew like how bad things got at the end, I went to a few meetings with him, because I didn't want to use anymore, but I didn't really know what to do. I went to a few meetings, and I don't think I heard too much because my mind was really cloudy, but like he like put the offer out there, and like we went to a meeting or two. But it's a lot of the people that I met like from knowing him and seeing them still, that was the best influence. Because like, yeah, I feel at home, because I feel like I've met a lot of these people when I was younger, and now they're still here.
Hell yeah. What do you got, Eric?
All right. Let's see.
Jesus.
I have a few. I mean, let's talk about the terrifyingly awful experience that you had of waking up in the hospital.
Really? Had to go. Okay.
That's.
Yeah. Okay.
Did I take your question?
No.
Oh, you weren't going to talk about
No,
catheters?
I was not going to ask about a dick
tube?
Dick
A dick tube?
No.
Well, I have had that same experience. I remember going and talking to my doctor before surgery, and they were like,
High
yeah,
five, no dick tubes.
you're gonna, hey, I've heard it hurts like hell on women too. But the doctor was like, oh yeah, you're just gonna, you'll have a catheter and everything will be okay. And it was like, and I was like, oh, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. And then I wake up and I'm just, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How was your reaction? And then also, how terrible was the recovery process over the next few days? Why did you need one, by the way? Like, why?
I'd passed out drunk in weights class, and they had to like, I think, pump my stomach from all the
Jesus.
rice clear.
The rice clear.
Yeah.
You're like,
But then yeah, I just remember waking up, and like my family was all around. They all had this like look of disappointment, which I got at so many different points in my life. I hate that look.
we know that look. Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time. But they're all there. My mom's probably a little teary-eyed and whatnot. So that like hurt more, and just like knowing that there was like repercussions from the school probably and all that. The shame and guilt hit more than the pain at that point.
Yes.
But I just remember I had been suspended afterwards from the school, so like I had to like be at home with my dad, who took off work, bless him, and was like, he wasn't really too scoldy after like a few days. Yeah, I don't remember like too much physical recovery beyond like the day of like
the blood and stuff,
hungover and like yeah. I think peeing was weird for a day or so.
It's really weird for a little while. Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
This is.
And I kind of blocked a lot of it out. Granted, like we're talking.
Please do.
This is like I was 16, so this is like 13 years ago.
I was 15 when this happened, so yeah, it was quite the thing to wake up to.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Me neither.
And then on the way out,
Ow.
I didn't get it on the way in. I don't remember the way in, but the way out, ouch.
Well, I've never had so quick question, who's had their stomach pumped? Because I've never had my stomach pumped.
No.
Nope.
So just you? How many times? Just once?
Yeah, I think there's that time.
Oh, wow.
There's been a lot of puking experiences. But
Oh, yeah.
Well, naturally, yeah. I mean, it becomes second habit at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, bleh.
I don't recall the stomach pump. Like at one point I was in home ec class or something, drinking the rice clear, and then the next moment I'm in the hospital with dick tube.
You went to school drunk.
I got drunk in school.
That's fucking.
I
He gave me a
know.
water
That's
bottle
fucking
of
dumb.
rice clear in home ec class.
That's fucking no.
And
He
then
didn't-
I would
He-
go high. I would never go to school.
You
drunk.
didn't
Fuck
anticipate.
no.
He probably didn't anticipate how fucked
go to
up
school
he
drunk?
get.
No.
No, that'd be miserable.
I went to college drunk.
That's
Well,
different.
yeah, that's different.
Yeah,
That's different.
Okay.
High school, hell no.
High school was high usually.
Especially
but
Howard
think
County.
about how hard it was to get liquor.
Yeah,
rice
No.
clear.
Yeah, rice clear.
Rice clear. Okay. How have you, how have you managed your thoughts and emotions about like, people going back out? Because I know we've talked about it. But
Yeah.
Describe that process and like, how does it fuck with you?
It's hard because like I want everyone to like get the benefits that I've gotten from this program, and I want everyone to want it and like do what I did. But like what necessarily worked for me isn't that's gonna work for everybody. Like everybody's recovery is kind of independent, and everyone has their process. But I get really frustrated with people. Like people that I live with that are going through it and seem to be in some sort of loop. People that I used to be friends with and I'm still friends with now. People in a loop or like some sort of like cycle really bothers me, but I'm like in a cycle about being bothered by people in their cycle rather than just like the answer is always like compassion and like acceptance.
Yep.
And I struggle with that sometimes. Some days are easier than others. I think I interject a lot, and I think I have the perfect combination of words to get people to snap out of it. And the truth is, I just don't.
No.
Like there's nothing that can
Nope.
be said. If someone, when I was deep in my like kind of destruction cycle, if someone gave me like all the pieces of the puzzle, they would just hit me with like some Buddha level wisdom. I just like wouldn't hear it. Like until I like figure it all out myself, like it doesn't count. Or it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I've come to terms sometimes, like when I think about it for a while, like the best thing I can do for a lot of these people is to like just keep doing what I'm doing as far as recovery and just like life.
It always depends on how like your individual, like how you're doing, how you're gonna react to it. Like if I'm doing well, when I see other people out, I'm like, okay, that's just is what it is. But if I'm in some sort of fucked up situation, I'll project it and be like, man, they're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And yeah, it all just depends on how we are, really.
And everyone comes in at different points. Everybody has like their own personalized cycle.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I get all sorts of emotions from it: frustration, anger, disappointment. But usually after like some time and thought and like talking about it, I'm like, oh, here I go again. Like
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, most of it doesn't affect me that much.
Yeah.
Like my actual life, it'll affect my mind. But like it's their life.
But no, you said it. Compassion and acceptance is what you have to get to.
Yeah. And I heard from someone that acceptance doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah.
I can accept it and not like it.
Yeah. Acceptance doesn't have to mean tolerance.
Yeah. But after a certain point, if someone's coming to me with the same issue multiple times, it's hard for me not to be like, all right, we've been here before. Like, what the fuck are we going to do?
Oh, I know. Yep.
And I'll maybe be like too down for that. But that's kind of how my sponsor is with me and other people. Like, if you're looking for a co-signer on some shenanigans, I'm probably not your guy.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. But sometimes I can say things nicer. Like, I can say the general message of what I'm trying to say without, like, being mean. And I don't think I'm a mean person at the end of the day. But, like, sometimes they come out too aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's, like, not how I want to be. And then I'll feel guilt about that. And I saw that a lot in step 7 and 6 and just, like, seeing a lot of my defects come out when it comes to, like, criticizing others. And that's not who I want to be at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's a process.
Yeah. What you got, Carly?
Did you just call me Car?
Carly.
He
No,
did.
I like trailed off.
Okay.
I did say the full Carly, but I mumbled at the end.
I did kind of like it though.
Carl's?
Well, people call me
I
Car
like
all
Car.
the time, but
I
I've
like
never
Car.
heard it from David, so it
You're hitting pet name status.
That would not be our pet names.
I just made it all awkward.
You did. You made it weird.
we
Anyway.
have better pet names than that, Eric.
That's better. There we go.
You made it weirder.
Yeah.
All these hobbies and things that you're into, do you ever worry about it becoming like an obsession? Like, so where's that fine line of something that you enjoy that's a habit to where it's now manifesting itself in your recovery as like a new addiction?
All those ones I mentioned usually haven't gotten too out of control. I'm pretty good at balancing them. What's been, I don't even call it a hobby because it's just like a way of life, but also an obsession is like, what has been an obsession for me has been like money and finances and like trying to like theory craft the best way to invest and whatnot, and thinking about how everybody else is spending their money wrong. That's been an obsession to me. But like the gym and the cooking and all that, like it's usually like, you know, a few hours here and there a week. It definitely is something to monitor. And like growing up, my dad always told me that like even a good thing can be like taken too far. And like he was saying, like, yeah, our family has addicted personalities in general, so like he'll get too far on like the gym tip or something. So it's definitely something to monitor as well. But what I end up doing is like I won't be able to balance all the hobbies. Like I won't play the harp for a few days or like for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then I'll feel like, damn, like I'm messing up. I'm looking at this thing and it's just like another thing
Just getting cobwebs.
to feel guilty about. Yeah. And that's also not good. And I think that kind of comes down to time management too. If I like to make a lot of things like bite sized. Like I don't expect myself to like cook like for 5 hours a day, or like I don't expect myself to do like an hour or two of step work every day, but 5 minutes here and there, and like I get better at it. Like if I do something for 5 minutes a day for 100 days in a row, I will get better. So I like to make things bite sized, and that with having to juggle so many things, that makes things a little more manageable, and I don't try to get overloaded on one thing.
That's a great way to go about it. What do you got, Eric?
Okay, this is a 3-part question.
Jesus Christ.
So you went on tour. So with going on tour, first part of that question is, what did you sell, drugs or food? Who did you tour? Like, who did you follow? Because, I mean, there's lots of different bands. I think my friends were following the Ping Pong Pigeon fuckers.
Pigeons playing ping pong.
There we go.
I like them. They're fun.
What?
And,
They're from Maryland.
yeah.
Okay.
They're cool. They're fun.
Pigeons playing ping pong. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. One of my high school friends is married to one of them.
See? Okay. A lot of little Kevin Bacons here.
What?
So...
Keep going. I'm so lost.
And then the last part, so besides that, you were talking like in high school about just like when you're trying to sell something and selling drugs and stuff, thinking about the margins and like, you know, where's the ROI and all this stuff. Like, but you're using drugs, so you're like, obviously you're fucking all that up.
Finish your fucking question.
Can you- Go ahead, start.
Can you
Yeah,
speak
the
also
fucking-
in layman terms?
Sorry. Did I not speak in layman?
ROI. Return on investment.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, I got it.
There's a
It
lot
It took
going
me a
on.
second. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
So who were you following?
Who
What
were
were
you
you
following?
selling?
What were you selling? And then what was your model for making money? Because like that's fucking hard.
So the first music.
How do you get from one festival to the other?
That's like 5 questions.
fucking question ever.
It's all a part of the tour.
So I got into selling at festivals in that like I made a bunch of brownies and brought it to Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival right after I turned 18, and I remember walking around the camps selling to different campsites and like coming back. It moved. Like it was like a 1 or 2 day thing. I maybe brought like way more than I ever had made at the time. I brought like 100 or so, and I like sold them. And I would come back with like a bunch of 1s and 5s and like throw this to my friend Aaron and be like, count this shit. It's like $50. And I'm just like feeling like a baller, like count these 1s. And I just remember really liking it then. And then I met like some people over the years that like sold other things at festivals, and that's what they think. They called them lot boys. Like outside of a festival or a concert, it's called the lot. And it was like its own culture and whatnot. So yeah, I over the years started like getting like exposed to that and trying that, and it was basically like, whatever we could get. Like it usually was like psychedelics and like powders like coke or ketamine and like Molly and stuff. And like sometimes you'd have all of it, sometimes you'd just have 1 or 2. And it was like some festivals like people were really receptive to it, and other festivals like there was too many people doing it, or like you'd eventually get to a campsite that people would be like, you guys need to stop offering your wares, and like stuff like that, or like acting like everyone's affiliated. He was like, you guys need to stop asking. Like it was just like, yeah, it probably gets a little annoying. And I've been to festivals too where it's just people walking by trying to get into your campsite. I would always try to be respectful and be like, ahoy mateys, permission to come aboard. That was my shtick. And then they'd either say like yes or no. Like I'm like standing like towards the edge of their campsite being like,
Would you like to parlay?
yeah. But I pretty much only had like illicit stuff. I met a lot of people that would do the combo. They would have like pins and art, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, also if you want like party favors, we got
My
that.
friends sold bagels. That was their thing.
That's
They
cool.
sold lots of bagels.
Grilled cheese is a common
Yeah.
one too. Grilled cheese on lot. As far as who I followed, it was I listened to a lot of electronic music. So like one artist that I really followed around a lot was like this guy Bass Nectar, who's since been canceled.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He got canceled recently.
Dubstep.
I saw Bass Nectar at
I saw Bass Nectar quite a
Fuck.
few times.
what was that fucking? Keep going. I'll think of this.
And I remember going
oh my god. What was that?
across the country. I'd go to like Colorado and stuff to see him. I'd go all over, and then I would get too inebriated to remember it.
Oh,
I would
that
like
could
trip
be a
too-
problem.
Yeah.
I would get trip too
can't
hard. And there was so
remember
many
this
Bass Nectar,
festival.
so many Bass Nectar sets that he was my favorite, and I don't remember them. Or I'd just be like too excited, so I'd travel across the country just to forget.
He was in like West Virginia. What was
Oh, it's all good.
All Good Festival. Yes.
That was probably a pretty
Oh my
OG
God.
one.
Yeah,
I
back
was-
in like the
I was
07, 08 days, probably.
All I remember is just wah 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 wah.
Wah,
And I
wah,
was-
wah, wah,
yeah,
wah.
that's where. Well, that's where I got
Ooh.
DMT for the first time, and got to smoke a fucking whole summer's
We've
worth of
discussed
DMT.
your
God.
love of DMT.
It's fucking amazing.
So is it fair to say that you are a dump dog guy and a lot boy?
Yes. Yes.
All right, I rest.
Okay. Thank you. You rest your case.
I rest.
Okay.
Wait, wasn't there?
There was a third, but I'll rest because of these
good.
two.
All right.
My final question
Wow, boy.
is, what does the amends to mom look like now and in the future? Oh, God damn it.
Sorry.
That's one that I talked to. I'm going over my step now with my sponsor, and he gave me some ideas for my dad, but he didn't give me much ideas for my mom. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. Like I said, my dad cleaned up my car in my apartment, and he was thinking like, hey, like maybe like get his stuff cleaned, like get like his car detailed or something.
Yeah.
And I actually know a guy in the program that's like low on money and details cars, so it'd help everybody involved.
There you go.
So that'd be pretty cool. But I don't know about my mom. Maybe something similar because she helped with both those initiatives too. Initiatives. But my major thing with my mom is like I made her lose sleep. Like I like to say that like I would look down on people for being like thieves and stealing objects, but like at the same time I came to a conclusion that like I stole a lot of happiness. I stole a lot of peace. Like I stole a lot of energy and time from people. Like I was a thief of the worst kind. Like stealing like material things is one thing, but stealing like
Taking someone's peace of mind.
yeah, that causes trauma, and like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't get that time back.
Yeah.
So one way is just to continue to like not worry her. Like I think she sleeps better now than she ever has before, and a huge thing of that is like trying to communicate more with her and like go and see her more because like through through active addiction, I was absent in many ways, shape, or form. But mostly, I wouldn't come see her much. I didn't really have the means to or the time. But now I'm like, I'm busy as well. And I can always like rationalize, like, I don't have time to do that. And anytime I do go, it's awesome. She lives in Gaithersburg. It's a little far. We are going to a trip, just me and her, in September. She's paying for all of it. So it's hard for me to call that an event. But we're going to Disney in Florida.
Whoa!
To Disney and Orlando. Disney and
didn't we
Universal.
talk about this?
Yeah,
we did. Yeah.
Disney and Universal, and I'm excited for that. And
Amazing.
It's going to be dope.
I don't know how much of that I can call an amend, but if it's like, if I still...
It is an amends. It absolutely is, because you just being present there is an amends.
Yeah.
Like, you don't necessarily have to pay for the whole fucking trip, but you availing yourself as a son to your mom, like, that's what you can give right now.
Yeah, and she deserves it. It's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to it too. Just continuing to be like independent and whatnot. I always have like needed bailouts at different points.
Yeah.
And, like, not putting a little more effort into not needing bailouts. Like, asking for help here and there is like necessary, but not being like, hey, like, I need this large sum of money. Like, I need you to do this for me.
Yeah.
Because that's been like a huge thing. Like, I've always leaned back on my parents for like some sort of like get me out of this troubled situation.
Yeah.
So just not getting in the troubled situation.
Hell yeah.
But that's definitely something I need to think about. She's a wonderful woman. I love my mom. And like I put her through some dirt, so she deserves the world.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, we would like to thank our guest Andy for joining us today.
Yay!
Fantastic job, man. One last very quick minute. What do you have to say to anybody out there struggling, needs to hear a message of hope? What do you have to say directly to them?
It does get better. It doesn't get better overnight, but like it takes a little effort and a little bit of time, but like it's worth it at the end of the day. Like, no process is perfect, but this is the closest process I've ever seen to perfection. But a process of turning inputs to outputs, and the input is a little time, a little like energy, and the output is just a whole better way of life. Like, I couldn't imagine I would be where I am now, and it's all because of recovery.
Hell yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, we would like to thank you again. And here at Podcast Recovery, we're aiming to expand. Oh, can I do this off the top of my head? I don't know. We're aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Everybody deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. Boom. Nailed it. So everybody, thank you for joining us once again. Go to all our social media outlets. Like, share, subscribe. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Go to our merch store. Purchase some shit, because we are self-supporting. Join our Patreon. Help us to keep the mics on. But most importantly, everybody out there,
Stay safe and stay clean.